Good afternoon. This is a Devar Torah for the Chag of Shavuot. And the Chag of Shavuot is the Chag of Matan Torah. Now, interestingly enough, the Torah never mentions the Chag of Shavuot as the Chag of the Matan Torah. The dates can be worked out from it in various references in the Chumash, but it doesn't refer to it as such. And how do we know what the Shavuot is? Because from the second day of night of Pesach, you count 49 days, which we've all been just completed. And yet, it's not specifically mentioned, even though we all know it's regarding Matan Torah, because the other Yontifs, Pesach, is the 7 days of our freedom, liberation from Egypt, and the miracles connected to that. And it's special to that period of the year. And the same with Rosh Hashanah, days of Atah, and Yom Kippur, the Aseres of days of Tshuva, there's to a specific period, and same with Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day holiday. But the reason the Torah is not mentioned, one of the reasons given, is because Torah is something we learn every day and is intrinsic to the creation of the universe. I'll be speaking about is intrinsic to our lives, the Torah, learning it, and the mitzvahs. So that's something for every day. That's why it's not emphasized on that particular day. Now, the story of Shavuot is fairly straightforward. We count for every year, but the first one, we had to wait 49 days to receive the Torah so we could be lifted from all the levels of impurity. And then on the 50th day, we were ready to receive the Torah. And Hashem made the sound of a giant shofar. Hashem descended to the top of Mount Sinai, and gave the Seros Adibros, 10 commandments. Actually, it's called 14 mitzvahs. Now, that's on the surface level. However, there's a lot more going on here, which I'll share some with now. First of all, if one looks at the Haftorah, that is a selection from the Nevi'im, and that we read on this parsha, we will find out that it is a first parak of Yehezkel, in English, Ezekiel. Now, if one looks at that, even on a basic level, it's the skies open up, and Ezekiel, Yehezkel, even though he's in exile, is seeing the chariot of fire, the throne of Hashem, all the angels supporting the throne of Hashem, incredible, deep, mystical images, which have great many meanings. So why that one for the giving of the Torah? And that leads into that I will suggest is because the revelation that we received, and when I say we, every person was present in Matan Torah, either in a physical body or as a soul. And we were seeing an open revelation of Hashem so incredible that the next time we may see something like that is not a Mashiach after the redemption. And we were elevated to such a level that our Yetzer Hara was eliminated. We're the only people in the world that no longer had the evil inclination. We had to let our bottom and chabur before the chait. And And if we hadn't committed the sin of the Egel Zahav, we would have stayed at that level and been admitted to Israel right away, shortly after receiving the Torah. Now, now what happened there? In Parshas Devarim, excuse me, Vayiknan, actually, chapter 4, verse 35, it says the following. Ata hara'el leda'at Yadonai hu Elokim ein on levado. You have been shown in order to know that Hashem, He is the God. There is none beside Him. Now, Rashi, dealing with that pasuk, tells us something very important. What happened there was more than Hashem giving the tablets, or at least the commandments, was that all the worlds confluence, or if you like, converge, came together there. There's seven, as Rashi says, seven spiritual worlds above, and the seven spiritual worlds below. We all had a revelation that day of the underlying purpose of the universe, and how everything is a unity from Hashem, and that everything is built on that Torah, because in fact, all the things in creation are created from combinations of the 22 Hebrew letters. Discussion for another time, and the depth of what that means. In any event, those were the mitzvahs. Those were what was going on, and it was so powerful that the first two of the Aseros Adibros, people heard Hashem's voice directly. They died after each one because their souls wanted to go back to the source. Hashem put their souls back in, the Kiyei Metim, resurrection of the dead. If they had done that for 8 more times, they asked Moshe to hear him instead, and Hashem made a miracle that all millions of Jews there could hear his voice magnified. Now, having looked at that, that was a direct revelation. And now what I would like to do is give a bit of the flavor of what happened there. Now, as explained by a number of sources, there is a direct, including the Arizal, there's a direct correlation between the 10 statements with which Hashem created the world, first one being Shir Elokim et Hashemayim va'aretz, beginning of Hashem's creation of the universe, and the first of the Aseros Adibros is Anochi Hashem, I am Lord your God, who took you out of and we're going to go into this, what that pasuk means exactly, because he used a double language from the house of bondage in Mitzrayim. They're tied together because when I'm to show this, I'm going to speak about briefly the first of the 10 creative statements which Hashem created the universe, which is, quote, Bereshit bara Elokim et Hashemayim va'aretz, and in the beginning of God's creating the heaven and the earth. Now, in that first pasuk, is encompass the whole of creation. So then, and if you look in Parshas Yitro, it says, it says, V'diber Elokim et kol hadavarim ha'ele l'omer, and it starts with Anochi Hashem Elokecha Asher Hotzim Me'eretz Mitzrayim Bebeis Avadim. I am the Lord your God who was taken out of the land of Egypt from the house of slavery. Now, everybody knows that the house of slavery was the land of Egypt, and the land of Egypt was the house of slavery, and we were in bondage. Why are both terms needed? Before I get to that, I would like to deal with some extra wording. It says, Dever Elokim et kol hadavrim ha'ele lamor. God spoke all these statements saying. Now, Hashem actually spoke those words twice. The first time, he said them simultaneously, all at the same time. In other words, for human, which is no human being is capable of, I could read the Aseros Libros, any of us could, but we have to read them one after the other. All of them were said simultaneously. There was no earlier and later, and Shem's sense of time and space. They were all said at the same time. We look, in fact, when it talks about the approach of Hashem on Har Sinai, it said the people heard the lightning and saw the thunder. In other words, normal system of physics, so to speak, natural order did not exist at that in that time and place. And we see a similar thing with Maaseh Bereshis, as the Orach Chaim HaKodesh explains. When Hashem said the first pasuk, V'yireh Shemayim v'aretz v'aretz, in the beginning was Hashem's creation of the heavens and of the earth. Why do we need both wordings? Because what Hashem did with that first word, Bereshit, or Bereshis, and it contains many things into it. In fact, the Gra has found all 613, we've only gone 613 mitzvahs within it. All the saying, everything was created simultaneously, the heavens and the earth, and reason said Shemayim Ba'aretz, to explain that they were each created at the same time. They're separate, but each created at the same time, something no human can do and no human can comprehend. And the same thing with the Aseros Adibros. They were all said simultaneously, but there was no before and no after. Now, so what is this first statement of Bereshit teaching us? That Hashem's knowledge and Hashem's capability are beyond what we can comprehend, and that everything is a unity. That lesson is also taught with the Aseros Adibros, the wonderful nature of Hashem and all of his creations, and that everything is a unity. Now, we see that same duplicate language in the first of the Aseros Adibros, because it says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem, your God, that Hotzim Me'eretz Mitzrayim Beis Avadim. Why the double language, as I mentioned? There's many reasons. One of the deeper reasons is that it's encompassing all of history, because when it talks at the beginning about taking you from Mitzrayim, that's talking about the liberation from Egypt, the events of the Pesach story. What is in from your house of bondage? That is talking about our ultimate redemption, since in a very real spiritual, in some countries in a very physical sense, we're all in the Jewish people are in bondage, and that will end when everything will become pure and everything will be purified, the evil inclination will be destroyed, the Yetzer Hara. And as the Orachaim explains, at that point, we're going to have a fifth revelation of the Torah. Right now, there's four levels, what's called parties: Peshat, Remez, illusion; Drash, an extension of the words; and so the more hidden aspects. There'll be a fifth level at the Zman of Mashiach, which will be a level of comprehension we don't understand. However, we will be different because we'll have an intrinsic sense of good and evil, since we'll be no Yetzer Hara. Now, we see that's the first of the commandments. And the first state of creation, very interestingly. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, because the other 9 manifestations of the proto-creation, the first stage of creation of all the others, the other 9 sayings were to bring them out. Now, the 10th one is, and I'm going to quote, is talking about the creations of man and woman. And in fact, it says, in verse 26, V'yom Elokim nasa Adam b'matzmalenu b'demeltenu yirado b'dagan hayom of Shemayim v'aretz kol b'mashishel and bara Elokim Eda Adam Masamo B'Tselem Malakim Bara Oto Zaka V'Nekeva V'Abraham. So, and Shem said, let's make man in our image, in our likeness. They shall rule over the fish, the seas, the birds of the sky, and over the animals, the whole earth, and every creeping thing that creeps in the earth. So God created man in his image, and the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. So the whole purpose of the creation of the universe was for man, woman, and ultimately when the nations as a whole couldn't reach Shem's purpose, as I've discussed in other Devar Torahs, ultimately the job was put to the Bnei Israel, the Jewish people. And so the whole purpose is for us to move to fulfillment, so pure perfecting ourselves and perfecting the world. And let's look at the 10th of the Aseros of Dibros. The 10th of the Aseros of Dibros is similar, and it says in Pasuk 13 of chapter 20, Actually, Pasuk Yud Dalet, chapter 20, Lo Tamar Beit Recha, Lo Tamar Asher L'Recha, V'Avdu Amatu Shero V'Kamru, V'Kulo Asher Recha. You should not covet your fellow's house. You should not covet your fellow's wife, his maidservant, his manservant, his ox, his donkey, nor anything that belongs to your fellow. Now, on the surface, it's teaching us how one must conduct themselves if they want to be servants of Hashem. And however, it goes even deeper. We normally talk about two levels of commandments. Adam l'chavero, a person to their fellow person, and Adam l'makam, a person to God. Now, the Shlach HaKodesh, he was a famous Rav. His most famous work was Shtei Lukot Brit. He was born in the 1500s, Europe, eventually became a Rav in Yerushalayim, and then moved up to Sfat, which was the center of Kabbalah in those times. And he explains that there is something deeper going on. The Aseros Adibros have 620 letters. Each one of those represents one of the 613 mitzvahs. In fact, there's Sforim around books that will tell you which letter is which mitzvah. In any event, that leaves 7 extra letters, because it's 620 letters. Now, according to many sources, it's talking about 7 major rabbinical commandments. However, the Shlach wants to come with a different concept altogether and say that Asher L'Re'echa are the actual 7 extra letters, and it's teaching us that are your neighbors, and it's teaching us that for one to truly serve Hashem and truly receive the Torah, one has to respect everyone as being equal to you, that everybody is Selam Elokim. They must get equal respect and acceptance. There's also Hashem's creations. And because, and I spoke about this in previous Devar Torah, we went through the period of mourning and account and Sfira Somer, because the students of Rabbi Akiva didn't do that. The 5 rabbis, the 24,000 died. The 5 Rabban that came after them did embody this concept. And the Shlach explains that once you can accept, only after one accepts that, of how everybody is equally valuable and meaningful to Hashem and the Selam Elokim, and you truly respect them, only then can a person come to the mitzvahs of Adam l'chavero, person to fellow person. And only then can one truly fulfill the commandments to serve Hashem and directly on Him, because until one does that, one is unable to properly fulfill them. And as we are about to enter Shavuot, I give us the blessing that we may all get a wonderful portion in the Torah for the coming year. May we appreciate all of these concepts, and may this be a wonderful year of learning and mitzvahs for all of us. And but Ezrat Hashem, beginning of the final redemption. Good Yontif and Hag Sameach